Porsche has blazed a trail when it comes to performance EVs, launching the Taycan all the way back in 2019 and dominating the premium electric sports car scene ever since. Now it's bringing its electric know-how to a more mainstream model with this, the new electric Porsche Macan. When I say mainstream, well, it's a Porsche, isn't it? So it's not cheap, but it is one of the company's big sellers. And we're talking about a rival to things like the BMW iX3, so you're going to see a lot of these on the road. However, it is not cheap, like I've just said. So this is the Macan 4, which is currently the entry-level model, and that costs from just under £70,000. You're talking about over 400 brake horsepower, 0 to 62 in 5.2 seconds, and it gets a battery 95 kilowatt hour lithium-ion NMC battery, and that gives you a WLTP range of around about 390 miles, depending on what wheel size you want and what spec you go for. You can get the Macan Turbo. Now that is £95,000. But, you know, if 5.2 seconds sounds slovenly, well, the Turbo will do it in 3.3 seconds, and you do get a lot more kit as standard on the Turbo as well, so there is that. So that is it, that's the new Macan. It is electric only. You can't get this as a petrol car. But Porsche will continue to sell the existing petrol Macan alongside this for a while yet, and you can't blame them really, because there are still a lot of people out there that understandably want the option. As you can see, the new Macan has gone a bit more coupe-like, with an aerodynamic shape and front grille helping to keep efficiency up. You can also get 59 different colours on the Macan, including the rather striking lavender grey Provence colour that the car was launched in, although obviously our test car has arrived in a rather more straightforward white. So what do you reckon to the looks then? I don't mind it actually. I think from certain angles I quite like it. I'm not mad on these alloys, but you can get some really nice sort of turbo style alloys. They look really cool. But I do think from certain angles, particularly maybe the front, like head on the front, it's a bit hippo-y. Sorry, Porsche. Nonetheless, so I don't hate it, it's just a bit odd. And this roofline, the sort of sloping roofline, that immediately kind of gets me on the alert, because I don't love coupe SUVs. It just feels to me like you're taking away all the good practical bits of an SUV and keeping the rubbish bits like high centre of gravity and weight. But loads of people buy them, so who am I to complain? And Porsche has actually made a really good job of practicality in this car. And I would add, that roofline obviously helps aerodynamics and efficiency. So there is that too. And 540 litre boot. It's massive, it's really good. So that isn't too bad. It's not the deepest, but it has got a good sized boot floor. Not a bad load lip either. And you've got cable storage underneath here, decent cubbies either side. And you also get a really decent sized frunk, which is additional useful cable storage if you need it. Headroom in the rear seats isn't affected too much by that swoopy roof, so even taller adults will be fine back there, plus there's a centre armrest and charging ports. So it is, as you would expect, really very lovely in here. It's very Porsche, and I say that as a huge compliment, because I really like the fact that Porsche keeps its interiors quite simple. So it's not very fussy. And I like the fact that the touchscreen, so you get 12.6-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, of course, and all the features that you want. So that's standard, but I like the fact that it's quite integrated. It's not absolutely dominating the dash, like, for instance, Tesla Model Y, which feels like you've sort of got a dash that's there purely so they can mount an enormous screen on it, that kind of thing. I like the fact that it's integrated, it's a bit more subtle, but it's really easy to use, great graphics, does everything you want. The voice control in this, really good. I'll have a go with that when we're driving and see how effective that is, because I've found it really good so far, unusually. I normally hate voice control. I love the frameless screen behind this curved screen behind the steering wheel, lovely slim steering wheel, seats are great, really comfy. But it is a Porsche, and Porsche are masters of the options list. Oh yeah. So, you look at the standard kit list on the Macan and you think that's not too bad, and then you realise heated seats, optional. Adaptive cruise control, optional. Keyless entry, optional. Yes, you get electric seats, but if you want the 14-way electric seats, then you're going to have to pay extra for that too. Then, of course, you get into the style stuff. Do you want the carbon fibre finish? Do you want the extended leather? Do you want Alcantara bits? All of that stuff. You can go to town with options on the Macan, as you would expect. So basically, I would go for the Macan 4 and then expect a budget about £5,000 to £10,000, I reckon, on optional equipment, at least, I'd say. To get the Macan of your dreams, that's what you're looking at. The Macan is based on the new premium platform electric that also underpins the Audi Q6 e-tron, and that means that it gets 800 volt rapid charging for peak rapid charging speeds of 270 kilowatts. That is around 60 miles of range every 4 minutes, or a 10 to 80% top up in some 20 minutes in ideal conditions at a powerful enough charging station. Even the Tesla Model Y can't beat that, and for added practicality, the Macan has a Type 2 charging port on both sides of the car. So, it's a Porsche Macan, and Porsche will tell you that it is, of course, the finest driving electric SUV out there. I think they might be right. It really is very good. In the scheme of electric SUVs, I think the Macan is going to be very hard to beat because it's got a really nice ride and handling mix going on here. Now, I would add, as I've mentioned with Porsche being a bit cheeky with options, you can add a lot of different stuff to change the dynamics on this car. So this is the Macan 4, and it has got the optional PASM system, Porsche Active Suspension Management, which in Porsche boardroom speak, well, it's, you know, clever adaptive dampers, isn't it? And they're active and they adjust to the road surfaces you're going along. So I think that's probably worth adding. We are on 20-inch wheels. It's got quite chunky sidewalls on the Pirelli tyres, but the ride comfort really isn't too bad. It does get a little bit wooden and jittery when you up it to Sport or Sport Plus, which you can do via the little drive mode button down here. But you expect that, and the payoff is that you get really good body control and it really kind of fires into corners. You've got really good traction. The performance on this car, I think this is a real sweet spot because I suppose it doesn't feel as fast as some people may hope. You don't get that real kind of like gutsy kick in the back that you get from, say, you know, the performance versions of Tesla models typically. You're going to have to go for the 4S or the turbo to get that really. But it's got a really nice progressive performance delivery, and it feels spot on for UK roads because it's not too fast and you feel like you're actually using a reasonable amount of this car's potential when you're driving down a good road, and I like that. That is important. I don't really want to be able to do 0 to 62 in 3.2 seconds in my family car. I think that's kind of a nonsense. But hey, again, I may be in the minority here. I like a car that you feel like you're using its potential, and I think the 4's a really nice option for that. Yeah, it drives really, really well. Is it as good as the petrol Macan? Do you know what? I'm going to say possibly not. I think it is a little bit more anodyne than that. But Porsche has done a good job with the steering. You feel really keyed in. You know what's going on. Yeah, you're going to enjoy a good road in the Macan Electric. And it's also just a really good electric family car if that's what you're after, which I suspect a lot of people will be. Oh, and one more thing. You can tow 2 tons with this car. That's good, isn't it? In fact, that makes this one of the best towing cars you can get in terms of electric cars, because there aren't many that can tow that much. So quite impressed with that. And, you know, on a more realistic note, also means that you can get a factory fit tow bar, which a lot of families will find very useful for mounting bikes on the back. So that's going to be a good thing for a lot of people. So it's not just about, you know, being the ultimate driving SUV either, is it? As for real world range, well, our time in the Macan 4 suggested that you should expect between 280 and around about 340 to 350 miles, depending on conditions. Obviously, if you go for one of the other Macan models with more power and bigger wheels, well, you should expect that range to drop a bit. So, is it the finest sports electric SUV out there? I think it probably is. It doesn't light my fire like the Taycan does. I think if you want the ultimate electric performance car, then you're still looking at the Taycan or even something like the Ioniq 5N. This is a very different prospect to that. But it is really good, this, I have to say. It's got a really lovely way of going down the road. It all gels together and it does feel very kind of, yeah, it's fun. It is fun. I like it a lot. So if that's what you want, if you want a great electric family car with all of the kind of brand kudos of Porsche, and you also want to enjoy a good road, well, the Macan ticks all of those boxes. Is it as good as a Q6 e-tron? I don't know yet, but we'll find out. We'll get them up against each other and we will see which one's best. In the meantime, I think Porsche's probably nailed it in terms of the electric sports family SUV. Don't forget to head to CarGurus.co.uk for a whole host of fantastic used cars. And while you're here, please do like the video, subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel, and ring that little bell, turn your notifications on so that you don't miss any of our videos.